To say the very least, we were blessed to see a classic duo and battle. Donovan Mitchell versus Jamal Murray in the first round 2020 bubble for the ages. Back to back scoring, going at each other personally, shit talking, buckets, clutch shots, uh, dangerous step backs, crazy drive and finishes to the lane. You got everything from this duo. It's your boy Dame. Subscribe to Dame's World. And the reason I'm doing this is because it's an obvious eye test and an obvious one we need to address. And we got to figure out who's not only the better player between these two, but who had the better series. So as we get to rambling, we just going to show the tape of excellence, essentially. Before I go in, I got to say this was the best duo I've ever seen and the best duo that I've seen since Vince Carter and Allen Iverson. I gotta go back to Vince Carter and Allen Iverson and what they did with the Raptors versus the Sixers. Took it to 7 games, had 40 and 50 point outbursts. But the difference between this and that one is Iverson and Vince Carter were individually getting off, but the games weren't as close. These games were close almost every single game. From game 1 to game 3, game 4 games. Most of the games were tight knit and came down to clutch buckets from these two opponents. But with that being said, we're going to get to the eye test of who's better. First, scoring. Now, scoring is very difficult because I think they're polar opposites in scoring. Donovan Mitchell is an attacker of the rim who can shoot pretty decent, while Jamal Murray is a shooter who can attack pretty decent. So it's very tough. I would just have to say that I prefer the person who attacks the rim, the aggressive manner to the rack, as you see Donovan Mitchell getting these buckets in game 1. So for me, I would take Donovan Mitchell for the score, and I trust him more. Jamal Murray's not the athlete, so if you can get stifled like we saw versus Kawhi, you can't get by somebody, that's going to pose a dilemma for scoring. So scoring, I got Donovan Mitchell. Shooting, nice take. Is this all Donovan Mitchell highlights or what? Shooting, I just clicked on anything. They should show Murray, hopefully. Shooting, or maybe Murray get the next game. Shooting, I have Jamal Murray, though. As you see, Donovan Mitchell the whole time going to the rack. Donovan Mitchell is a okay shooter, works on his jump shot, but Jamal Murray is just ice cold-blooded. Wow, as you see, this is the time for him to go, and it should be. Shooting, I have clearly Jamal Murray. He's a sniper from mid-range and from 3. His step back is dangerous, probably the most deadly step back, top 5 most deadly step backs in the league between him, Kemba, and Harden, and some more. But I have him obvious for the shooting, mid-range and 3 ball. He's icy, silky smooth. Barely missed this series. Step back right back on him. I'm telling you, they was going at it. It's just game 1. Passing, I got Donovan Mitchell because he can attack to the rack and get separation in space and cause havoc. He ends up creating easier for others. So I give him that one, the passing. Defense, I got okay, work them out. They got me not talking. All clutch too. Defense, I got Donovan Mitchell. He's bigger. Both of them aren't great defenders. Donovan Mitchell look kind of bow-legged, if you ask me, while Murray is slower. But I have Donovan Mitchell just for the prowess. He has a more intensified mind state, in my opinion, on defense, and he's more athletic. Donovan Mitchell barely by the D. Handles, I got Murray. Mitchell's handles is kind of all over the place. He looks like a natural 2 guard. Murray is swift, silky smooth with the ball, has more array of moves like that one as you've seen right on the cue. But ball handles, aesthetics, and just control, it looks like give me Jamal Murray. Clutch, this is tough. Now in this series, Jamal Murray to me was more clutch. Whenever they needed a big bucket, game 1 he rallied them, game 6 he rallied them, and in most of the clutch moments I've seen, both of them have been clutch in this series, but I've seen Jamal Murray be more clutch in this series. However, I don't think that constitutes the overall clutch because Donovan Mitchell was clutch as fuck as well. And he's been clutch his rookie season in the playoffs. And he's always been the go-to his whole career. So clutch would be close. I would have to say either a wash or a slight edge to Donovan because I've seen it a little bit more. But I would say a wash for now because Jamal Murray, man, he's ready for that moment too. Clutch killer instinct, give it a wash. Maybe Donovan if somebody put a gun in my head. Finishing at the rim. Now, driving at the rim is Mitchell. He gets there easier. Finishing at the rim is Murray. Murray's he finishes stronger, Mitchell, of course, with the dunks. But the finesse, the up and under, the touch around the rim. Jamal Murray is low-key one of the GOATs when it comes to touch. He's second to none using the backboard. So finishing at the rim, and then Donovan Mitchell on those layups, he finishes very well too, but he doesn't have as much touch. And then Murray can dunk and get up there, but he doesn't have as much athleticism. So this one is real close too. I would say driving is Mitchell. Finishing is Murray by a slight just because his touch is miles ahead of Mitchell's touch. I've seen Mitchell be OC at times, throwing shit at the backboard. Post, none of them have it. I would give it to Jamal by a slight because he can shoot. So if he's given the little defender, he might exercise it, but I don't see none of them in the post. Overall skill set, I have Jamal Murray, triple threat, off ball, left hand. You talk about just looking like the more skilled player. Don't get it twisted. Mitchell's skilled, but he reminds me of like a Westbrook or a Eric Gordon, somebody who is learned with the skill and not as much just naturally gifted. He's a hard working person who became skilled through that, in my opinion. Whereas Jamal Murray just looked like he always had that wiggle and that essence about him that could hoop. He always had game. Transition, Mitchell easily. Athleticism, Mitchell easily. Rebounding, Mitchell easily. ISO is tough. I would take Mitchell because, again, the inside-outside game, you're not going to strap somebody who's quick enough to go by you. Murray is an outside one-on-one player, uses the step back a lot, and can get a bucket isolation all the time. He's a great isolation player as well. I just have Mitchell. Off ball is tough. These are two on-the-ball players. I never really see them that much off ball, so I can't say. Sustainability, both of them have been healthy so far, so we hope that they can sustain. Better career, it's early and it's young right now. Donovan Mitchell probably has a better career by a slight, so we can't do that. IQ is very tough, two high IQ players. So these last categories come down to a wash, so it comes down to the main categories that we mentioned above. The scoring is very close, but I slightly have Mitchell for the drive. Shooting, slightly have Mitchell because he has the opportunity to create. Passing, Mitchell because of that reason. Handles, Murray. Clutch, wash. Finishing at the rim, Murray. Driving, Mitchell. Post, wash. Overall skill, Murray. Transition, Mitchell. Athleticism, Mitchell. Rebounding, Mitchell. So, though both of these players are great, when I go down to the line, I got Donovan Mitchell. The player I'm going to choose to draft is more than likely Donovan Mitchell. I need somebody to be a little bit more athletic than Murray and also be able to drive to the rack and force the defense to do something or force the referees to do something when in doubt. When the jumper's not falling, I need somebody who can offer that. Murray drives to the rack, just not as frequent. So, with that being said, the better player to me is Donovan Mitchell. However, Jamal Murray had the better series. He was lights out all series from downtown from mid-range, was shooting like 15 for 17 for some games. This is game 4. You're going to see another comeback being led by him pretty much by itself. And you saw that shit the whole series from Murray. And that's why I said the clutch will have to be a wash because I think Mitchell came up to play, showed up clutch, and he's done it before in the playoffs. But this was one of the most clutch performances I've seen nearly ever. You talk about game 1 Murray, talk about game 4 Murray, and you talk about game 6 Murray. out of his fucking mind. So while Donovan Mitchell had an excellent epic series, look at this shit. We're watching this shit back, and it's still amazing. I already seen this shit, and it's still amazing. So, but I just look at this. I want this shit, nigga. Killer. He giving me the chills, guy. But they won this. End all be all. I had Murray for the better series. They end up winning the series, but it was close either way. Either Murray or Mitchell could have had the better series. I'm sure they both averaged 40 something. And as far as the better player, I got Mitchell. I think Mitchell is the player who I would take in the long run, sign, draft, and be my go-to guy. Whereas Murray is a great scorer, but I still think he may be an excellent number 2 type player. But that's just me. We'll see how their careers pan out. Both great players. Both gave us a duo to remember. Let me know who you think had a better series, and let me know who you think is the better player. Again, I got Murray for the better series because all them step backs and them jump shots, I just like looking at that shit. Them clutch buckets, you know what I'm saying? Very close though, even. Damn near even. Slight edge to Murray. And I got Mitchell for the better player. More athletic, more drive prone, more aggressive. My type of guy. Murray for the series, Mitchell for the better player. It's your boy Dame. Peace.